Would you like to have a great look at your country? Would you like to see it the way you've never seen it before? Easy. Rent yourself a big Sikorsky helicopter, bring along maybe $25,000 for gas, and take off. The view from the air is no more the way things really look than the view from anywhere else. But it's no less the way things really look either. And it's the view we see least often. The trip's going to take us about a month.
The pilots, used to more order, couldn't believe we wanted to fly across the United States and back without a prearranged route, taking pictures at random of whatever we saw. Of all the things you can see from a lookout like this helicopter, cities may be the best things to see. The view from here is good because it emphasizes their great beauty and hides a lot of the ugliness you know is down there. We've made a mess of a lot of the land we live on, but we've done some good things too, and cities are among the best things we've done. There's always a tendency to revere the architecture of the past more than our own, I think. Tourists flock to see the Colosseum, the Taj Mahal, or the pyramids, but I suspect these skyscrapers are as great as works of art and engineering in our time as the Colosseum was in its time. Each city has a profile of its own as unique as a fingerprint. To anyone who knows the print, it looks like no other city. To me, a lot of the cities looked alike. I wouldn't be able to tell you offhand what cities these are we're looking at. The chances are you won't recognize more than one or two of them either. All the tallest buildings seem to be owned by either a bank, an insurance company, or a hotel. There are the clues to identity down there. Things are 2 blocks from the Prudential building, or you turn left past the Marriott. Cities are a product of all the people who have ever lived in them. You can see the layers of time. Each era adds its own architecture to what was already there. In the older cities, the tall buildings are scattered. Nestled down among all that steel and glass, you can see the 3- and 4-story red brick landmarks of another time. A city like Houston's practically all skyscraper. This is the way the architects dreamed their buildings would look when they sketched them, looking down at their drawing boards from this angle. They don't look like this from down on the street. There's no time to admire magnificence there anyway. On the street, you're looking down so you won't fall in a hole. The men who build skyscrapers are either extraordinarily brave or just too dumb to know how dangerous their work is. Heights don't seem to bother them at all. Made us nervous just watching them watch us.
Look at how casually they stand on the edge there.
I had to look away. It made me nervous. 179, contact departure control.
Oh, go back, fella.
Bill and Dave were always most comfortable flying over a city. What they worry most about is other aircraft, and they know there aren't going to be airplanes flying down in here among the tall buildings with us. The modern factory is all glitz, glass and steel. Every time they put one up, it seems there's more glass, less steel. The office buildings are so modern, you wonder if their shape bears any relationship at all to what they do inside them. This one's interesting, but, pardon me, which way's the men's room? See that patch of grass on top of the apartment building? I went to my senior prom with a woman who mows that. One of the things you get to do if you've got a helicopter is you fly over your own hometown. How's this for a simple little old hometown? It's mine, Albany, New York. Look what they've done to my town, Mom. Look what they've done to my town. To tell you the truth, flying across America in a helicopter was as much of an adventure as seeing America. Each morning before we took off, we'd agree on a rendezvous point with the ground crew. Bob, Jane, Cy in the van, Mike and Otto in the wagon. We'd often start out together. Ending up the same place 8 hours later was harder. People asked what surprised me most. Even though I already knew it, what surprised me most was how much of the land no one lives on. You look at something like this, you wonder why we're all crowded together in the cities. You can travel for hours out here, flying 100 feet off the ground at 100 miles an hour, and never see a house, a human, or any sign of civilization at all, except the shadow of your own helicopter. Most of the land no one lives on is terribly inhospitable. It isn't all choice real estate. It's hundreds of thousands of square miles of nothing but scrub brush. Not that I know what a square mile looks like from up here, or from down there either, for that matter. Bushes and bushes. You wonder why the bushes even bother to live here. Passing over this, I kept thinking of all the pampered plants in all the pots in all the windowsills across the country. These bushes are unloved, unwatered, untouched by human hands. They not only survive, they thrive. While a lot of uninhabited land looks too hot and dry to live on, a lot of it looks too cold and wet, too. There are often ridges of high ground along the coast, much prized as places for vacation homes. But just behind them, the long fingers of water feel their way inland through the tall grasses. This is where so much of what's in the ocean breeds and proliferates, in these swampy margins that are neither land nor water. They're hostile to man, and for good reason. They don't want him in here. You can't always tell where you are in the United States. I tried to keep track.
So where do you estimate we are now, Dave?
I don't have the least idea. Bill's got the map. Where are we?
You want my road map, Bill?
I was never much of a map reader. And of course you can't stop and ask. Would you know if I wasn't telling you that this is Texas? Texas, just north of Dallas. It could be a suburb of Minneapolis or Rochester. Not every place looks like nowhere in particular. There are geographical landmarks so distinctive in their shape that anyone who knows them at all can name them. Cape Cod extends for 75 miles into the Atlantic off Massachusetts and then curls at its tip and hooks back toward land. Cape Cod is as easy to recognize as Mount Rushmore. This is Mount Rushmore. Recognize it? Probably not. This is the back of Mount Rushmore. All of it looked like this before the sculptor Gutzon Borglum got at it. Now it looks like this. It was an incredible feat to carve the faces of 4 presidents out of the rock facade of a mountain. But you have to say that it's also a good example of man failing to improve on nature. There's forest land no one lives on, too. For all the land we've laid waste by cutting down all the trees on it, there's still a lot of trees. They're living on borrowed time, though. You can bet some tree-cutting company has its eye on them. I love good lumber, but I hate to see them cut down a tree. What do you think it'll run me to buy one board from this old redwood being hauled down a mountain road in Northern California? Someone cleared the road to get to it. Someone cut it down. This driver is hauling it away and burning gas as he does it. Someone will slice it into boards, and then they'll ship it across the country to my lumber yard. No wonder I have boards that cost so much I hate to cut them. And don't let them kid you. There will never be trees like this again. Unlike some terrain, you can tell where you are in America when you're over farmland because of the size and shape of the farms. The great farms of the Midwestern grain belt are laid out in perfect geometric rectangles. Nothing interferes with them. No valley, no lake, no mountain range. They just go on and on. It looks as though it could be lunchtime before a farmer plows a furrow from one end of his land to the other. He might plow all day without seeing another soul, unless he's got 2 tractors and a hired hand. You wonder how we could make such terrible bread out of wheat from such beautiful land. The farms of the California valleys have a distinctly California look. This is a vineyard north of San Francisco trying to grow great grapes. It's interesting, but it doesn't make you want to stand up and cheer the way the wheat fields do. And then there are all the other farmers, the ones with the small, misshapen plots of land. This is somewhere in the Northeast. Looking down on the little farms, you know you aren't in Florida or Kansas. Each of them is small, but these farms occupy a large and important part of our land. They don't sell anything to the Russians here. They can sell all they grow from the stand on the road out front. Their fathers and grandfathers had the farms. Now they're being moved in on from every side by highways, housing projects, airports, and office buildings. The other dominant feature of the terrain of this country is its rugged mountains. There are vast areas in the middle of America, closer to the west than the middle, really, that make it obvious why they call these mountains the Rockies. The name Rocky Mountains sounds better than they look in person. If they ever find a commercial value for rocks, this is going to be a rich and populated area. Until then, though, I don't think it is. We came through the Rockies from Denver to Aspen, and as you start south from there towards the Grand Canyon, you come on the most astounding, beautiful, useless land of all. There's so much of it that after a while from the helicopter, you lose your ability to be astounded by it. We photographed 45 minutes of things like this, knowing perfectly well we could only use 2. Land like this doesn't have much to offer except beauty. It should probably be watched to the sounds of patriotic music. In spite of all the miles and miles of land with no people, no buildings, the impression you get of America from up here is still formed more by what we've done to it than what it was like when our ancestors got here. From the ground, for instance, you aren't as aware of how much of the earth we've dug up to get at something underneath. They don't usually dig where everyone can see it. The gravel pit is over behind the golf course on the other side of the highway. Whatever it is, if it's down there and we want it, we go for it. Anyone who loves beauty is sad at least half the time over the destruction of so much of it. A tree down, ground dug into, junk on the land. They all represent the destruction of beauty, and we do a lot of it. We're often so busy multiplying the supply of good things we want that we forget we're destroying a lot of them in the process. This is a strip mining operation in Montana. I was disappointed with myself for not hating it more than I did. It must be the neatest coal mine in the world. Considering how much coal they're getting, they aren't doing that much damage that we could see. The layers of coal look like a drawing out of a 5th grade geography book. This thing must be the biggest shovel in the world. You could put 4 Cadillacs in that bucket, all with their ashtrays full. It lifts off the topsoil and drops the topsoil into a hole next to it from which they've already taken the coal. A week later, and 1,500 miles east, we flew over this pile of coal near a factory in Illinois. You think this was ever under the ground in Montana? They'll be burning it wherever it came from. When they do, this is all you'll be able to see of what someone dug up out of the ground. The coal from that geography book in Montana produces an ugly scene when they burn it in a steel mill in Indiana. There are still plenty of smoking factories. They're producing pollution, if nothing else. You can't tell much about the economy from up here. Of course, you can't tell much about it from down there either. We look busy. Unemployment doesn't show from the air, but you can see why our steel industry is in trouble. These buildings were put up when the Industrial Revolution was young in America. Well, the revolution's over now, and these buildings are old and tired. They're producing very little except an occasional dividend for the stockholders. Our magnificent flying machine flew a lot faster with the door on than off, but when we wanted to take pictures, the door had to be off. I suppose we landed in 100 remote fields and little airports to take the door off, or put the door on. It fit into the baggage compartment. If helicopter door changing was an Olympic event, we'd enter as a team because we got very good at it. Never shut down the engines, never stopped the rotor blades. We did duck a lot. We flew over a lot of churches with the door on, but we flew over a lot with the door off, too. We've got a lot of churches, 400,000. There are all kinds of churches, big churches, small churches, handsome churches, homely churches. We don't have as many great cathedrals as Europe has, although we have some nice ones. The best contribution religion has made to what America looks like is the traditional white wooden New England church. Their simple wooden spires dominate the profile of any town that has one. Their builders weren't so frantic to call the Lord's attention to their work as the builders of cathedrals. There's a whole new kind of church in America, too. Architects have had a good time with them. This is a great-looking modern church, shaped like a snail because it's near the water. I like it. It's a good thing, too, because it's only a few hundred yards from my home. I go past it every day, including Sunday. I hope God likes modern architecture in his churches. We've sure got a lot of it. One thing is easy to spot as a church is a state capitol. Unlike churches, though, most state capitals look alike. I don't know who decided what capitals should look like. A mountain of stone topped off with a gold dome. They're sort of dumb buildings, really. I suppose they're permanent and solid looking, though, so they give us a confidence in government that the legislators we elect to inhabit them do not. There's a strange bond between people on the ground and people in a helicopter. People in the ground often smile and wave. Such an unlikely-looking machine with people in it strikes them funny, I guess. Sometimes, of course, they don't smile or wave. If you blow away their beach blankets, they aren't friendly at all. They're more apt to report you to the Federal Aviation Administration. Animals don't wave or report you. You have to be careful with animals. Helicopters don't strike them funny. They're scared. You don't like to scare them, but inevitably we scared a lot of animals. Mostly there are cows and horses. You become very aware of all the animals we grow to eat. Looking down on them, it wouldn't be hard to become a vegetarian. Scaring one certainly isn't as serious a thing to do to an animal as eating it. Dave and Bill pointed out that you can tell when you're close to an airport because the horses and cows don't run. They're used to it. They don't even bother to look up. There are more elk in Yellowstone than I knew about. Hundreds of them, everywhere you look. It's funny that you don't think twice about seeing a horse or a cow. An elk isn't that different, but seeing an elk is exciting. There are buffalo or bison grazing in Yellowstone, too. Too tame, really. You think of them with cowboys and Indians, and look at these. They're so used to having their pictures taken by tourists, they don't move. Even tourists in a helicopter. Airport buffalo. Every once in a while, of course, even the buffalo head for the hills. We saw wild horses, too. The natives hate wild horses. They think they ought to be shot. Some of them aren't really wild. They're ranch horses that were turned out to graze and never came home. This white stallion wasn't wild. We saw him coursing along a mountain ridge near President Reagan's ranch out back of Santa Barbara. Could be his horse for all we know. We saw seals, or maybe they were sea lions. I'm no surer about the difference between a seal and a sea lion than I am about the difference between a buffalo and a bison. Or for that matter, the difference between a dolphin and a porpoise. I'm not sure whether they're fish or animals. It's funny that animals are afraid of humans, but where there are no humans, there are no animals either.
They're little, aren't they? He's looking at us.
Yeah, he's just keeping an eye on us. Yeah, he keeps turning so he can see us.
I think he's waving. God, he's just looking at us. That's not cute.
Then there are birds. My gosh, are there birds? No one knows how many birds there are, and it's one of the good things about them. Birds don't hold still long enough to be counted. We saw evidence, too, that birds are only human. Watch this near mid-air collision between two ducks. Off the coast of Maine, we came down low to photograph a rocky island and realized too late that there was a terrified mother seagull under us, sitting on an egg. Bill started to pull the helicopter up, but it took time. More power, more noise, more terror for the seagull. She put her head into the gale and never moved off that egg. Some mama. There are a lot of mysteries. From here, the Earth is a puzzle that's tough to put together. There are things I'll never know because we didn't land to ask. I'll never know what this London bus was doing in the backyard of a farmhouse in Illinois. And for that matter, what's a boxcar doing miles from the nearest railroad track? I can't imagine what this is. It's cute and nicely built, but what is it? A hut for visitors from space, maybe? I know what this is. It's an old movie set, but what movies were made there? I saw a lot of old westerns. Did I see one shot here? Tom Mix, maybe? There aren't many mysteries to pilots. They know the land down there from up here. I couldn't figure what this pattern was, but Bill and Dave knew it was a skeet shoot range. You could have fooled me. Tommy C. and Nicky stomped out their names in this farmyard. Where are you now, Tom and Nicky? Out of school? Married, are you? Alive and well, I hope. Who did you think would read this, Tommy C. and Nicky? You wouldn't have dreamed I'd read it, certainly. You wouldn't have guessed that I'd be overhead here in a helicopter this day. And I don't suppose you ever met Ruth, Tommy C. and Nicky. Ruth wrote her name in old rubber tires 1,000 miles from where you put your names on Earth. Where were they taking these rocks on this barge? And what were they going to do with them when they got them there? Why are these people parked under this overpass? And where, for goodness sake, did this woman come from? How far has she walked? How far has she got to go? The pilots knew what this was, but I wouldn't have guessed. It's a hangar in Akron, Ohio, designed to shelter those great rigid dirigibles that turned out to be such disasters in the 1930s. They say this hangar's so big it has its own rain clouds. There were small things on the land I didn't understand. Some kind of windmill, I guess. Did the farmer plant his field this way? What are those green fingers, anyway? What's burning in the hold of this Russian ship docked in New Orleans? What do Russian ships bring to New Orleans, anyway? And how did the fire start? We'll never know, and I doubt if the captain will ever write and tell me. Why would there be a fork in the road at this particular point in the desert? We spotted this figure on an island in the waterways around Washington. What made the artist think it was art? And who did he think would ever see it but us? What story does this shipwreck off the coast of Massachusetts have to tell? Was everyone saved? Was there any mystery? Or did the captain just hit a rock? What happened to the cargo? And who climbed this mountain and built this cairn? Is there anyone under there? Where's this pickup truck going in such a hurry? Someone making a commercial, maybe? There's no mystery here. The land of make-believe doesn't want you to forget where you're coming when you fly in. Throwing things away has developed into a major problem in America. You see the problem better or worse from above. In your town, you can often tell who the rich people are by what they leave out for the trash collector. You can tell a rich country that way, too. America's a rich country. On Saturday mornings, we're lined up at the dump getting rid of what the trash man won't take. The federal government puts out more trash than anyone. What does the government do with these? A miscellaneous assortment of old naval ships no one wants. So here they are, acres and acres of old ships rusting away in the waters off Newport News, Virginia. Many of these were built for millions of dollars. They've been junk for 35 years now, carried on the books simply as part of our national debt. I kept wondering whether there were still good clocks on board, old brass. You wouldn't be surprised to see the ghost of Bull Halsey waving from the wheelhouse. And what have you been thinking happens to the Air Force we were paying for 5 years ago? Here it is, Tucson, Arizona. Obsolete now. Billions of dollars worth of flying machines that'll never fly again. Waiting to deteriorate to the point where they can be declared junk so they can be sold to the junk dealer next door. American industry has as hard a time throwing material away as its government. The greatest byproduct of industry is waste. Sometimes it appears as though a plant is making more waste than product. Rivers and lakes have been a favorite place for industry to throw its waste. Many of our best waters were turned into sewers before we knew it mattered. Here it is, still going on near the headwaters of the Hudson River. This is a graveyard for old boats somewhere in New Jersey. What do you do with a ferry boat or with a tugboat when its tugging days are over? Oh, you tug it somewhere and leave it. There are 160 million cars and trucks on our roads today, and there are more new ones ready for the road. But we've thrown away more cars than this. We've used up 200 million automobiles in America. Some have been melted down. Most of them are here, in automobile junkyards everywhere. Junkyards don't separate them by brand names. Although occasionally we spotted a neat automobile junkyard, this huge old car dump was neater than your average Cadillac dealer's front lot. Look at that. The countryside is littered with cars that don't go anymore. Many farmers who profess to love the land leave them right where they stopped. There it died, there it stays. Parts of it will probably be there 500 years from now. Acne on the face of America. How do you discard an old school bus? Well, you don't, you see. You just drive it somewhere and leave it. And do you have any suggestions with what to do with a fleet of old cement trucks that have seen better days? Some farmers put their old cars to more practical use. Where the ground has opened up or eroded, they fill the fissures with cars, much as a dentist packs gold into a cavity. One farmer with a sense of humor near Amarillo built a monument to his old Cadillacs with his old Cadillac. How's this for an only in America picture? You wonder how long it'll take us to throw away our whole country, bit by bit. There are a great many things that can't be seen from anywhere else, as well as they can be seen from the air. Imagine setting out to build a battleship. Where would you start? How would you know whether it was going to tip over or not until you put it in the water? The old stern wheeler, the Natchez, not a battleship, but magnificent in her own way. The observatory at Kitt Peak. This was built so astronomers could look at other planets. Kitt Peak is pretty impressive to look at itself. The observer observed. The geyser in Yellowstone has been seen by 50 million Americans, but not many of them have ever seen it from here. Looks pretty good from here. Alcatraz, the legendary, inescapable prison, closed now in San Francisco Bay. The country is dotted with structures that are of absolutely no consequence whatsoever. What gets into someone when they want to put up a plastic dinosaur? A replica of a seal? A huge donut? And if you saw this dull, ordinary building and didn't recognize that it was in Dallas, Texas, you certainly wouldn't dream that one of the most terrible events in American history took place here. It was from a window in that book storage building that Lee Harvey Oswald drew a bead on President John F. Kennedy as his cavalcade drove through the plaza and ended his life with a bullet through the head.
The sheriff's officers have taken a young man into custody at the scene, a man 25 years old. We just have a report from our correspondent, Dan, in Dallas, that he has confirmed that President Kennedy is dead.
I don't know why it is, but people are fascinated by water. Wherever it is, whatever it's doing, we can't stop looking at it. The faster water moves, the better we seem to like it. It's almost as though water were magnetized and people were drawn to it. People build houses as close to the water as they can safely get. Lots of times they build closer to the water than they can safely get.
Look, that's where the houses were. Do you see where those people are standing?
Yeah, and they closed the streets.
If you build a house on the edge of it, chances are, sooner or later, the water's going to get you.
Oh, there's one about to go.
These people know that. They just think it's worthwhile, I guess. Living close to water is something almost everyone wants to do. The value of a house is often in direct proportion to its proximity to water. The closer, the more expensive. People aren't satisfied living just close to the water either. They reach for more. Those living on the edge of it often build little lookouts for themselves so they can get right over the water. They build stairways to get themselves down to it. And for some, that still isn't close enough. They want to be surrounded by water. How'd you like to get home from the store if you lived here and realize you forgot to buy milk? People who don't live near the water, most of us, are always driving hundreds of miles to get to it. For some reason, water and vacations are synonymous. One of the amazing things to see is how many Americans keep boats in their backyards. Here's a guy ready to head for the water. One question, though, how's he going to get his boat out of there? Maybe he keeps his boat in his swimming pool. Water has a mystic quality. The ocean hits the coast of Maine. There's a flash of white as it foams around the rocks and slips back into anonymity. That instant, that picture, will never be exactly the same again, and yet it always looks exactly the same. There's nothing on earth that attracts so many people to watch it as water. If there's a dock, they walk out on it to be over the water. If there's a rock, they climb out on it to watch the water. You have to like people who climb out on rocks to watch water. They feel a oneness with it, I think. Dust thou art, to dust returneth, but water we art also. When people aren't watching water, they're playing in it. There never was a toy as much fun to play with as water. Along the surging edges of the ocean, the surfers paddle patiently, waiting for a wave. Every once in a while they get one, and all the waiting is worthwhile. And anyway, all the time they were waiting, they were in the water. The windsurfers divide their time about evenly between being in the water and being on it. The knack of the windsurfer is to judge the strength and movement of a mass of wind over the water. He has to balance his own weight against the weight of the wind on his sail. When it happens just right, it's beautiful. If people aren't playing in the water, they're playing near it. Sometimes they're walking by it, sometimes jogging alongside it. Part of the attraction water has for us is the danger of it. We enjoy tempting it to do us in. Watch this. You fly over all the marinas there are, though, you realize that boat owners like the idea of going out on the water better than they like actually going out on it. If boat owners aren't out in their boats on a Saturday like this, when are they out in their boats? Oh, a few of them are out. They sail from here to there as though purposefully. There's no real reason for people to go anywhere in a boat usually, except when they get there, they can turn around and start back. There aren't many hiding places left in the country. The canyons cut by the Colorado River are teeming with tourists. Guides with big, safe, fat, inflated rafts take boatloads of people through the rapids, where it isn't very rapid, giving customers looking for adventure the illusion of danger on the water, where there isn't much. People who don't go to the rivers or the seashore go to the lakes. We have some lovely lakes. There are still a few that haven't been ruined. This is the water I know best in the whole world. I wouldn't think of telling you where it is. I know how beautiful it looks, and I don't want you coming here. First thing you know, the islands will be covered with orange peel, the lake littered with beer cans. I know. Every major city in America was put there because of water. Am I wrong? Is there one that wasn't? It's almost always hard to get to any city now because of water somewhere, and harder to get away from it, too, because of water. Every place you have water, you need a bridge to go over it or a tunnel to go under it. Look at all the time, the planning, and all the millions of dollars it took to get just this one vehicle from here, under the water, and back up to here, headed for the city. Bridges are the biggest alteration civilization has made to the geography of the earth. A bridge changes the relationship between two pieces of land by making one piece out of them. It's funny that cities that were so anxious to be on our rivers have all but paved them over now. Sometimes the bridge itself is so beautiful, and the two places it connects so unattractive, you wonder why anyone would want to go from one to the other. If they were works of art, bridges would be important, but their beauty is of secondary importance to their usefulness. No decorations, everything about a bridge contributes to its purpose. The George Washington Bridge may be the most famous bridge in the world. It's a thing of stunning usefulness and beauty. A genius named Othmar Ammann designed it. You build a bridge, he said, to last forever. I hope he's right. I often cross this myself. More people go over a bridge in a car than under it in a boat. People in cars and people in boats are natural enemies. Boat people don't like bridges blocking their waterways. And of course, impatient motorists don't like being held up by a couple of boats. When the bridge opens, a boat seems to take its own sweet time going through. After all, though, it is its water. The bridge is the intruder. Engineers have figured a lot of ways to get a bridge out of the way of a boat. It's best for all concerned if the bridge is tall enough so the boat can pass under it without the bridge having to move. Here's a bridge plenty tall for any boat to go under. It's a strange bridge. It was built for tourists to walk out on. It's beautiful, but the canyon wasn't bad looking before they built the bridge. Every time any of us in a helicopter saw a bridge, we'd want to take pictures of it. We could give you an hour on bridges. This is a simple but historic little bridge, the bridge at Chappaquiddick. In San Francisco, we couldn't stop taking pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge. It may be the most photogenic of all. You feel a pride in your country when you see a great bridge like this, just as though you had something to do with building it. And maybe we all had a little something to do with it. Dave Wright was flying this day. I put the question to him.
So let me ask you a question, Dave. Yes. You going under it? Well, no guts, no air medal. You want to do it?
No guts, no air medal. There is evidence of wars past everywhere. Not many communities were immune from attack or the threat of attack at some point in our history. And our ancestors all built great stone forts. They weren't much good in a war, but they make great tourist attractions.
Early settlers built their cities near a river or an ocean to make them accessible by boat. It's not so clear why the Indians built their equivalent of condominium housing on top of these mesas.
I suppose they were ready-made fortresses that made the Indians who lived there safe from a marauding enemy. But where did they get water up there?
We've covered a lot of the land with floors and walls and roofs. 170 million Americans live in houses. Wherever we go, we make nests for ourselves. They don't so much build a house anymore. They construct a housing project. They build them by the dozens or by the hundreds using tinker toy parts. Our homes are getting to look more and more the same. Most of us live in a house that looks like the house next door, give or take a coat of paint or a bush or two. 8 million Americans live in permanently immobilized mobile homes. They're close together so the residents can share the life support tubes that bring them water and electricity and carry off their waste. Looking down on some residential areas induced a strange kind of depression in me. I've felt it before on airliners. I get the impression people down there must be as alike as their houses. And they're all going to live and love and hope and work and die, like me. I never jump, though, because there are too many houses that aren't depressing. Some houses are so original and look like so much fun that they reassure you that we are still a nation of individuals. Having a lot of money has been a big help to some people in building great homes. Someone said this was Bob Hope's house. He didn't come out and wave. I don't know whose this is, or even if you call it a house. It certainly isn't a home. Some of the most original houses are in the hills out back of Hollywood. The houses cling to the hills with as little assurance they'll last as their owners have in show business. They aren't out of a kit, though. William Randolph Hearst built this for himself, just a place to keep his hat and a few friends. The great homes in America used to be downtown, but residential downtowns are gone. The good homes have been abandoned, and where the property is valuable, they've been bulldozed. Occasionally, they try to preserve some grand old vestige of the past as evidence of what downtown used to be like. An abandoned farmhouse is even sadder to see, and there are a lot of those. American farmers are just locking the doors and leaving. There are no buyers for a home like this. There are some great-looking barns. Barns come in as many different shapes as churches. Many barns are in a state of decay. Some barns seem to have been built falling down. Even the barns that are falling down, though, have a special grace that most buildings don't have. You couldn't tell a barn like this anything. It's seen it all. We were in the helicopter 5 or 6 hours a day most days, 8 a few, just looking down. Nothing's fun forever. In Billings, Montana, Mark Falstad's mom met us at the airport with a huge apple pie she'd baked.
I was really lucky we stopped there. Billings. Your mother always baked pies like this?
We hardly looked down at all between Billings and Rapid City, South Dakota. We ate apple pie.
Suspended motionless above the earth. I think I'll ring for the stewardess. Maybe she'll bring us coffee.
The bad news is, you're the stewardess.
No one stays where they are for long in the United States. When they get up in the morning, they usually get dressed and drive someplace else. City people go to the country, country people go to the city. We're a nation of drivers who spend years of our lives bumper to bumper with strangers. Going someplace is more important to Americans than being there once they arrive. We've certainly got the highways for it. Some of them go straight for 100 miles. You can cross the border from one state to another state without ever slowing down. Other parts of our highway system are so intricate in their tangled turns that you wonder who ever worked out where these concrete pretzels should go and why they should go there. It often seems as though we have more highways than places to go on them, and we're building more. They're laying highways like coats of paint. There's some places they never should have painted a highway, of course. Our ground crew had to turn back here. If people aren't moving themselves, they're moving materials. The trucks fight the cars for room on the road. The trains are still running. Trains look better from the air than from in them on the ground. There's something romantic about a train. Edna St. Vincent Millay's little poem kept going through my mind watching trains. My heart is warm with friends I make, and better friends I'll not be knowing. And yet there isn't a train I wouldn't take, no matter where it's going. It's surprising to see how many people travel in their own airplanes. Every airport we landed at, concrete runway or grass strip, had large and small private planes parked wing to wing. They're used more like boats than cars, I think. There are fewer than 3,000 airliners in the U.S., 200,000 smaller private airplanes like these. Here was a grand way to go by boat. It isn't going anywhere anymore. The Queen Mary tied up as a tourist attraction in Long Beach, California. Something sad about it sitting there. And hidden in that hangar behind it, Howard Hughes' Spruce Goose. As varied as the geography of the country is, as different as one part often looks from another, our flight had the effect of telescoping it in my mind. The same things were happening everywhere. Kids traveling in yellow school buses, Florida, Oklahoma, Kansas. It was one of the things that gave the appearance of cohesiveness to our Union of States. For all our sectional pride, we're a lot alike, doing a lot of the same things. A stranger looking down from anywhere would know he was in America. It was a memorable trip we took across the United States. All of us know how lucky we were to have been able to take it. Nothing good lasts forever, of course. I'm back here in my nest now. Each of us wants to reassure ourselves once in a while that our country deserves the pride we have in it. For all the things wrong with it, no one could have taken this trip without getting a new understanding of why it is we're all so proud to be Americans. This is Andy Rooney. I'll see you around the country.